to smile. But I would never, ever, ever would have believed them, no reason. Sometimes the truth is hard to see. But now the never, ever, ever seemed to be over. I saw her, so I'm happy I got freed. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. Uh-oh. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. I won, got it done. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. Uh-oh. Lucky, lucky, lucky. I won't let the door hit when I leave. I guess that I was born beneath a very lucky star. And in a week or two, I won't remember who you are. Man down, he ran out of luck and now it's my time. Ain't no looking back, I'm on the right track. Here she goes. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. Uh-oh. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. I won, got it done. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. Uh-oh. Lucky, lucky, lucky. I won't let the door hit when I leave. I guess that I was born beneath a very lucky star. And in a week or two, I won't remember who you are. I guess that I was born beneath a very lucky star. And in a week or two, I won't remember who you are. When the sky is falling down and the clouds get in your eye, I'll be a gold mine. When your world ain't going right and the struggle dims your shine, I'll be a gold mine. Back to back, I got you and you got me. Dream team, stick together and make history. Golden wonderland, when we're hand in hand, our sisterhood turns bad into good. Golden wonderland, when we take the stand, our sisterhood helps the common good. We are stronger, getting stronger every day. We are braver, getting braver in every way. When you can't seem to win the fight and you're counting endless nights, I'll be a touchdown. When all you need is some support, I'll make sure to hold the fort. I'll be a touchdown. Back to back, I got you and you got me. Dream team,
แกคะเทสเสียงมาจากหน่อยเป็นไงบ้าง เบาไหม
golden wonderland, when we're
ได้ยินชัดเจนครับอาจารย์ครับอาจารย์
โอเคครับคุณมาก
turns bad into good. Golden wonderland, when we take the stand, our sisterhood helps the common good. We are stronger, getting stronger every day. We are braver, getting braver in every way. turns bad into good. Golden wonderland when we take the stand. Our sisterhood helps the common good. We are stronger, getting stronger every day. Every day. We are braver, getting braver in every way. I am a woman, not here to please you. It's time to move on, cause my time is now. I am a woman, play by my own rules. I got my 2 feet on solid ground. And then I take the first step a million more. And I make mistakes I never made before. But either way, I know I made up my mind. I'm through feeling scared, I'm leaving all that behind. So I'm gonna let it shine on you. Make room for everything that's true. Do whatever I wanna do. And then I let it shine on you. I'm gonna let it shine on you. I don't need no savior, no helping hand, no one to make me feel loved again. I am a woman, coming alive. Gloria Gaynor, we will survive. And then I take the first step a million more. And I make mistakes I never made before. But either way, I know I made up my mind. I'm through feeling scared, I'm leaving all that behind. So I'm gonna let it shine on you. Make room for everything that's true, yeah. Do whatever I wanna do. And then I let it shine on you, yeah. I wanna let it shine on you. Yeah, yeah. Shine on you. I am a woman coming alive.
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์ Hello Gerard So we are waiting for Gerard to online. But thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. I noticed that some of you guys are not Thai. So hello from Thailand. Where are you guys from? Could you introduce yourself a bit for us? Like, it'd be great for Gerard and me to know like, the time zone that you are in. We are super grateful that you guys join us today. You know, it's a long weekend in Thailand, so I don't think people in Thailand will going to join us much. We have Marjolin. Marjolin. Hi, Marjolin. Where are you from? Ah, สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์ Did you hear me correct? I think your sound are not in yet, but it's okay. We'll wait. Netherlands. Wow. What time is it in Netherlands? I understand Gerard is ahead of us, so maybe it's evening. 7 p.m. We have some Thai people here, I guess. Naresh from India. Wow, thank you. 11 a.m. So I'm just gonna briefly introduce the session for you guys, and then whenever Gerard can join me anytime. So basically we're gonna talk a little bit in English. Of course, the session is gonna be in English, but sometimes I'm gonna recap in Thai. And if you guys don't know, actually Gerard have been in Thailand before, so he's gonna understand Thai a bit. But mostly the session would be in English. So you guys here, I'm gonna start talking while Gerard is I think he's setting up something. So how many of you guys here have known MAVEN Analytics? It's okay, Gerard. Just fix it, no problem. I'm just gonna reply. Take your time. Okay. I'm just gonna do a host function here. So how many of you guys have known MAVEN Analytics? Or how many have you guys here? I actually have done a data analytics challenge. I'm just gonna put the website up here real quick. We are not sponsored by MAVEN Analytics. It's just that this is where I know Gerard from, and I think it would be a great place to introduce you guys if you haven't done it. You did? You have done one time, Marjolaine Narich? About 20 times? Did you win or did you lose to Gerard? This is just I have actually, it's for me for to introduce myself. Better Pitch is an in-house training for data visualization and presentation in Thailand, and I got to learn from Gerard because I'm very impressed on how he analyzed data. So the first thing first that I'm trying to learn online. So what I found is a online MAVEN Analytics challenge, and I was blown away because everything is really, first thing first, normally you see people do data visualization, but in MAVEN Analytics, a lot of great people are there, and I was blown away, and I was so impressed with Gerard, so I contacted him. No, Gerard won. Kun Tip, a beginner in data world. Okay, I think Gerard is setting up something. So I'm just gonna go in on some of a challenge, and hopefully Gerard will join us soon. If you guys have something to share, just let me know now. I'm just babbling, waiting for Ajahn Gerard. I call him Ajahn because when I contact him, I said that, could you explain like how you think from data? I'm just going to show the one that I'm so impressed that I contact him, the pizza challenge. You guys that are here, have you done pizza challenge? Okay, I'm just gonna type in here. The pizza challenge is actually, I'm just gonna show you guys here. พี่ไก่ต้องบอกเจอราดว่า join in anytime นะคะอาจารย์จะพูดไปเรื่อยๆ Finalist, wow! We should invite you to talk as business and Marjolaine. Wow! Could we see your as well? Okay, I'm just gonna go for Gerard one first because he's here. So hold on. And if because you are the one, Marjolaine, because you are the one that actually have done this, so you could chime in anytime to tell me about the data on pizza challenge. So I'm just gonna put up here. Hold on. And okay, hold on one sec. Which one is okay? I saw it. There you go. So I'm just gonna share the one from Gerard here. And I think you can see Gerard. Gerard, how is your I think I hear some voice.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. For some reason, the microphone and camera.
Otherwise I'm just gonna Thank you so much. Otherwise, I'm just gonna talk. I'm just open band. So,
Yeah, no problem.
Gerard, could you please say hi to everyone here? I think everyone here have known you. Marjolaine, Papa, Narich.
Yeah. So thanks for having me today. It's good to
Mhm.
good to join in today. For anyone who doesn't know me, yeah, my name is Jared Dugan.
Mhm.
I'm a data analytics and business intelligence lead for KBR in Australia.
Mhm.
So KBR are it's a large construction company. They're based out of Houston in
Mhm.
Texas in America,
Mhm.
but we have offices all over the world, and we have several here in Australia, employing
Mhm.
I think 1 or 2 thousand people here in Australia, and 40 or 50,000 people around the world. So my background is in engineering, so I'm a civil engineer, um, but I've been involved in construction for the last sort of 20 odd years. And the last 5 or 6 years, I've been involved in data analytics. So I went from a construction background and started working in legal arbitration. So when our construction projects had problems or issues, a lot of the time we go to court to try and settle these issues. And we need to analyze our project records and data associated with the project. So I got involved in that way into data analytics, and then I transitioned from my engineering background into data analytics.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that people say you can teach an industry expert
Mhm.
how to analyze data, but it's more difficult to teach a data analyst how to be an expert in an industry. So a lot of people maybe on this call, maybe
Mhm.
they're involved in similar industry, like healthcare or construction or retail or something like
Mhm.
that. And maybe they're thinking about changing the work in data. A lot of the times, if you have that background in another industry, it's a good advantage.
Mhm. Could you go close to the mic? I think the sound is
Yeah, sorry, I'll move the microphone a bit closer. Is
okay.
that better?
Yes,
Yeah.
much better. Okay, so
Do you want me
I talk a bit
to?
to I talk a bit for other guys that how we meet because I contact
Yeah.
you online because I want you to be my teacher, and
Yeah.
and coincidentally you have been a teacher in Thailand. That I haven't known.
Yeah.
What did you teach in Thailand? Just for background for people before you go into Australia.
Yeah. If you want me to speak, I'll do a little bit of an introduction in Thai if it's going to be easier.
Okay. Yes, because there are a lot of Thai people here, and then on Facebook, so they would understand. Like we are
Okay.
merging the word together.
Okay.โอเคผมชื่อเจอรัตจ
Ah.
ริงๆผมมาจากไอร์แลนด์เกิดที่ไอร์แลนด์แล้วก็เรียนวิศวโยธาที่อังกฤษตอนเรียนปริญญาตรีก็มหาลัยที่เมืองไทยก็ชวนมาเรียนซัมเมอร์เทอมที่เมืองไทยก็ไปเรียนที่มอรังสิตแล้วก็ทำโปรเจกต์กับอาจารย์ที่นู่นแล้วก็ทำโปรเจกต์เสร็จแล้วก็กลับไปเรียนจบที่อังกฤษแต่มหาลัยรังสิตที่เมืองไทยเขาก็ชวนกลับมาเรียนปริญญาโทเป็นวิศวะโยธาด้วยที่เมืองไทยแล้วก็ได้ทุนมาเรียนแล้วก็แต่ต้องสอนภาษาให้เด็กวิศวะที่มอรังสิตก็เลยเรียนพาร์ทไทม์แล้วก็สอนพาร์ทไทม์ด้วยก็อยู่เมืองไทยประมาณ3 ปีก็เรียนปริญญาโทจบก็ประมาณ2005ก็กลับไปทำงานที่อังกฤษประมาณ2 ปีหลังจากนั้นก็ไปทำงานที่ดูไบ4 ปีแล้วก็ไปออสเตรเลียแล้วก็ไปญี่ปุ่นแล้วก็มาออสเตรเลียก็ตั้งแต่อายุประมาณ22ก็ไม่ค่อยได้อยู่ที่บ้านเกิดก็เที่ยวตลอดไปทำงานทั่วประเทศได้ประสบการณ์เยอะทำงานหลายคนแต่
That's
อยู่
pretty long. That's pretty long time. I think somebody
Yeah.
would said that you speak pretty good. That's a pretty. I mean, for you guys to that are not Thai. That's a pretty long sentence for people who is here for 3 years. I'm pretty impressed. And there's a lot of technical terms that he used, like for engineering and stuff.
Yeah.
ขอบคุณมากเลยค่ะ Thank you very much. So we go back to international because you have a lot of international fans here. So let's talk about what we're here today. So I introduced a bit on the pizza challenge, but what you
Yes.
guys I think we can go right into pizza challenge for those of you guys that normally what we saw in online, they say that okay, billing can be data, but we don't really know like how it can be data and how it could predict future. So today, as we're gonna talk about pizza challenge that Gerard have done marvelously, and you can talk and go through with us like what goes through your minds when you first saw the data. Like how do you think? How do you find gold in that kind of bill of pizza restaurant? Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you want me to? I've got like a little bit of a mini presentation. If you want
Go
me
ahead.
to
Go
share.
ahead. Of course. Of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
So let me share screen.
And any of you guys that are Thai or international here, it'd be great if you could type something to say hi to us and Ajahn Gerard, obviously, because he prepared this for us.
Yeah. So just, can you see that screen or?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I've done the introduction. So a bit about me. So I've talked about my background. If anyone wants to connect or after this, I'm on LinkedIn most days. So you can just look up my name and see me there. And if you sort of add me or whatever, I'll connect and I'll be happy to discuss any aspect of this that you want. So yeah, I guess if we're talking about the pizza challenge today, I thought I would talk about my approach to sort of this challenge and visualizing it and sort of telling a story and how it kind of applies to almost any project that you would do. So I guess maybe like taking a step back, like one of the questions might be like, why do I do data challenges sort of online? What's in it for me, or what's the benefits? So when we work for different companies, a lot of the time the information or the data is confidential. We can't show it. We can't show our work externally to other people. So the data challenge is a good way to be able to just show your skills or your development in public without using like a company data. The second one is you get to practice and experiment with new techniques and industries. So if I work in construction, maybe I just look at project schedules and doing that type of analysis all the time. But a data challenge, I could look at, World Cup data for soccer, or I could look at Tour de France data. I could look at Lego data, or a business like a pizza restaurant. So you've got lots of different industries, lots of different techniques. We could look at business analytics. We could look at survey data. We could look at anything. You can do lots of different things. So it's a good chance to practice those techniques in different industries. Another advantage is feedback. So if you're on something like LinkedIn, you might get feedback from sort of friends or people you know on there who can tell you whether they think it's a good job or things that you maybe want to improve. And also, these also get judged at the end. So you have experts in expert panels who will review your work. They'll tell you what's good, what's maybe not so good. They also look at other people's stuff and they'll tell you what's good in this, what's maybe not so good, so you can learn lessons. And then also you meet people in network. So I wouldn't have met you, for example, if I didn't do this. I wouldn't have met other people on this call, like Marjolaine. People I wouldn't have met or known unless I took part in these challenges. And also there's a benefit, you can win things, although that's not the end goal, but like you can win like access to learning platforms or t-shirts and things like that.
Just out of curiosity, what is the prize? I mean, what did they give you if you win? Except glory.
Yeah, for MAVEN Analytics, you get, I think you get access to their platform for 1 year. So, you know,
Wow.
typically that might cost, you know, $500 US
Yeah.
if you paid for it yourself, something like that. So you get that for free.
Oh,
And
that's
if you become a Hall of Famer, you get free access for life. So you never have to pay for access again.
Wow.
There's other challenges. They pay you in, you know, Amazon vouchers. You might get a couple $100 or something like that. But you know, it's okay. You can't retire on the money, but it's okay. Yeah.
But
So
obviously it's sorry, I just want to say that it opens a lot of opportunity. Like I find a lot of people on MAVEN Analytics that do stuff, and I contact them. I got one person that not work for me, but work with me to do some data analytics because I like their thinking process. So, you know,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
pretty good.
even within my own company, because you know, if you work in a large company, like I work in a very large company with tens of thousands of people, but if they see my work online, you know, the next time they might, I get people call, you know, from my company, from Abu Dhabi, from India, from America, from the UK, Saudi Arabia. They'll message me during work. They'll say, "Oh, I saw your stuff on LinkedIn. Can you help me with this?" And so it actually helps even internally. It's almost like you're advertising your work or your brand. So it's a good way to do that. Otherwise, again, if you're working in a big company, people don't know what you can do. They can't really see your work. So it's also a good sort of way of advertising your skills.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on.
Yeah. I guess my journey, I kind
I
of
think there's
started.
some questions from our fans.
Yep.
Kunjip is our longtime fan page. Kunjip say
Okay.
that I'm struggling to programming and Python language. Kunjip, let me have a background. I think Kunjip has some other profession other than data scientist. And then
Yeah.
she trying to switch lanes, and then she said that she's struggling with programming and Python, and she feels like the ability that not able to use this language are holding her back. Any suggestion?
I'll tell you my point of view. I can't use Python at all. So I guess it depends on your role. If your role is doing a lot of the sort of back end engineering in cleaning data and automating processes and things like that, yes, Python it's a tool that I would really like to have, but I know I've started the journey to learn it, but it's quite difficult for me anyway. But I wouldn't say that it should hold you back. It depends on, I guess, what type of role you want to do. If you're looking to work in data visualization and data analysis, it is possible to progress without Python. But again, if it is something that you want to learn, like anything, it's about sort of learning in small steps and then applying it, and then learning your lessons, then moving on to the next. In the same way as I'm going to show in a second, that's what I've done here in terms of visualization. I started off not very good at it at all, making lots of mistakes. But each time I was applying what I was learning for each challenge and getting slowly better, learning lessons and just trying. So a lot of these things, they don't happen very quickly. It's the process of 6 months, a year, 2 years until you become sort of competent. But having these types of challenges or projects that you can apply your work on really helps, especially if it's something that you think you're going to do all the time. If there's a certain type of analysis that you will do all the time in your work, if you practice it and make the steps more efficient, and you keep doing that, soon enough it will be like muscle memory. You'll be doing it without thinking. Yeah. I'm sorry,
Okay.
that might not directly answer how you get better at Python, but I guess it sort of applies to across the broad generally in terms of learning skills.
She said, "Thank you for your encouragement."
Okay. Yeah, I guess, yeah, on this, like I started started data analysis, like maybe, as I say, maybe 5 years ago, in like 2018, to get involved in a bit more deeply. But I started then looking at visualization and how I could improve my visualization, like in 2021 when I was working in some arbitration cases. And I thought I would start entering these challenges. So again, I started in 2021. I think I've had about 19 entries to date. Out of those 19 entries, I've had 15 finals and 4 wins. So 3 of those wins were with MAVEN Analytics and 1 with Enterprise DNA, who are a different platform. But yeah, I think I'm the only person to have won 3 titles. I've got that record at the minute. But yeah, so I think this talks about basically what I've talked about there before, like why I do this. You get through this. This is like an experience learning cycle where you maybe experiment with something. You have the experience of experimenting with it. So you have the experience, and then once you've completed it, you can reflect on it. So it's either feedback from other people, feedback from experts, looking at it yourself, just thinking about what was good, what wasn't good, and then applying sort of learning to that, sort of conceptualizing, you know, what can I do better next time? And then you come in to the next time, again, you experiment, try something again. And if we keep going through this process, our experience will help develop our skills, and we'll be able to do sort of better visuals or better data engineering or better analysis, I think.
Okay. And go ahead. Examples. I think
Yeah,
people
so-
are dying to see.
Yeah. So this again, this is sort of how it started. So this is my very first visual. So if I look at this, looking back from now, there's a lot of visuals, a lot of colors. I'm not sure where to start, where I should start looking here, where I should focus. I'm not sure what the overall story is. It's quite cluttered. So some people might look at this and think, oh, lots of colors, looks nice and pretty. That's a good dashboard. But if I look at this, I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't good at all. There's too much information, too many colors, too much clutter. I don't know what to look at first. I don't know what you're telling me. So that's kind of where I started. And then this is kind of the latest challenge that I've been involved in, was about looking at Lego over the last sort of 50 years. You'll see the difference. There's less
Color
visuals.
first. The beauty first.
Yeah, so there's less visuals. So instead of having 10 or 12 different charts on one page, I've got 3, 1 main one and then 2 supporting. The color, so there's focus color. We're using just a yellow and then shades of a yellow to focus in on the story that we want to look at. Everything else is kind of like grays or sort of mute colors in the background. It's not distracting. I know when I'm reading this, I know my eye is drawn on where I should focus, what I should look at, and how I should flow through this story. It's a bit easier to look at. So that's what I'm saying. Over the course of 3 years, I've started from like the base of, yeah, it might look okay, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And then sort of 3 years later, you can start producing these types of visuals. And like even this Lego one was like a last minute. You do it in a single day, like a couple of hours, you can sort of put it together. So you get from that process of spending weeks doing something and not being very good at it to being able to use your muscle memory and the stuff you've learned to start producing, good work.
I really like just a bit comment on the Lego one. I really like how you will see pattern on Gerard thinking as well. Gerard always fluster the customer. That's what I learned from you actually. Like the right lower one, as you can see here. If you see his work, I always start there to study your work, to improve myself. Gerard always grouping customer, which I think is a great thing if you guys are trying to analyze sales or any journey. This is a great way. If you see this visualization, you know right away like what you should do. Anyway, that's just my take. It's really big.
Yeah, thank you. So this is maybe I'll very quickly go through a few more. So these are more sort of MAVEN challenges that I went through. This is going from like this early years through to later ones. So this is my first finalist. That was like a selecting a restaurant location in Mexico based on data that we had from various restaurants. So age groups, whether people smoke or don't smoke, drink or don't drink, locations, what type of food they like to eat. So we look at a sort of like a answer questions like a who, where, what. So we want to ask questions and we want our visuals to answer those questions. And again, if I look at the previous one where I had lots of different colors, that was the lesson I learned in the first challenge was don't use too many colors, be more focused. So you see here, I'm using sort of greens, some grays, and maybe a red. So there's only a few colors here, less colors, easier to focus on what you want to see. And structure by, questions you want to answer. This was my first win. So this was like MAVEN unicorns. So it was an assessment of unicorn companies. If anyone doesn't know what a unicorn company is, it's a private company that's worth more than $1 billion. So this was an assessment of unicorns around the world, the different industries they're involved in, what values they have, where they're located. So we looked at how they developed over time, the type of companies that will give you a greatest valuation and greatest funding to valuation ratios. So where you should invest your money, which industries are going to give you the most return on your money, and then also where are the hub spots, where are the hotspots for these big companies around the world. We got the east and west coast of America, around China and India and places like that.
Could I ask you a little bit on before this one, just this one, yes, just a bit because some people would probably haven't seen your work, so
Yeah.
so for the guys, this is actually how you wrap up. Like, let's say is there a lot of unicorn company, and what Gerard did is actually he actually have as you can see here, it's not just data. He find median and average and growth. This is just for me recap as a for you guys who haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit on the right upper, because it's not bar chart, so people who have saw this first time, this one, the right
one.
upper one. Yes, what is the graph, the scatter plot? I think it's scatter
Oh,
plot.
the scatter plot, yeah. So it's
Yes.
the
What did
it's
you
the
do there?
so it's the year that they became a unicorn, and then the number of years it took for them to become a unicorn. So you may have a company that was established in 1990, and it became a unicorn in 2010. So it took 20 years. So it would be up here. So this is just looking at previous, like in the early 2010s, companies took a long time to become unicorns. They were taking 10, 15, 20 years. But as we progress towards 2020, the companies are taking potentially less time. So we had there was a median rather than a mean. I think the mean was giving us like outliers, but we chose a median. So a median value of 6 years. And then we see, which companies are above a median, which are below. So we see down here, we have a grouping of, companies.
See guys, this is what I'm talking about. You guys that probably come from MAVEN Analytics, this is probably old news from you guys. But for those who just join us, I think this is a really great way to tell a story. This is what I want to recap again. Like, you didn't put data as information, but you tell a story like, okay, that it's took longer in the past to become unicorn. That is, it's not just, okay, this is data, but you say that it take longer in the past. So it's just some way to translate the data, this is what I think we could learn from Gerard and from MAVEN Analytics champion as well, everyone here. Thank you. This is just my takes.
Thanks. And I think this was a second win. I think we've had a discussion in length about this one. So this is about MAVEN Telecoms. So it was a telecoms company, so like a phone provider, mobile phone or internet provider in the US. and we have what's called customer churn. If anyone doesn't know what churn means, it's like a customer leaving. So every month, how many customers leave, or what's the rate of people leaving the company. So I think companies like this, they always want to know what the churn is. How many people are leaving, how many people are staying. So we had like a very large data set and large number of customers with lots of different characteristics about the type of billing they had, whether it was like credit card, paperless, bank transfer, the type of internet they had, high speed, dial up, all this sort of stuff. There was maybe 20 or 30 different sort of categories or characteristics, and my thought process was, you don't want to show all of those characteristics, because if I present this, again, we'll talk about this in a minute. You think about your end user or your stakeholder, who's going to look at this report. This is going to be senior management in the company. They don't want to look at pages and pages of bar charts and line charts, all this stuff, having to think and interpret. If you can give them a single visual or one or two visuals that give you the sort of end result, like what do you want to tell them? What's the main message that you want to tell them? And if you have a single visual that can sort of explain that to them, you've hit the jackpot. That's your gold dust there that you found. So my analysis was a little bit, it wasn't quite full machine learning, but there was a little bit of machine learning involved in it. So what I did was I looked at all the characteristics about the type of billing that people had, whether they had music streaming, TV streaming, the type of billing they had, and we created like a normalized factors. So we looked at all of these and the value, whether they were above or below a median, and then whether they churned, whether they left the company or didn't leave the company. And so I developed like two different components. One was value. So I think value was the amount of money they spent with the company, how long they stayed with the company, and then how many people they recommended to join this company. So if people spend a lot of money, they were with you for a long time, and they recommended a lot of people, they're high value people that we want to keep. If they didn't, then they're lower value. And then the churn risk was looking at the type of contracts they had, the type of internet, the type of music streaming, etc. And so we developed these normalized factors, and what we laid over it was this color scheme. So the yellow shows customers that churned. The light blue shows customers that stayed, but we think they may be at risk of churning soon. And then the dark blue are customers who have stayed with the company, and we think they're safe. We don't believe that they're going to leave the company. So just by showing this on a single visual, you can kind of see, it kind of communicates to you that to the left, where we have high churn risk, these are the people who are going to leave, light blue. Yeah. So this is kind of what we developed to kind of show who was leaving and who wasn't leaving. And then the next trick is then, well, what do we do with that? That's very interesting, but what can you do? What action can we take? And that's where we go to the graph below. So these were newly joined customers. So if we take newly joined customers who just joined, I think it was in the last quarter, the last 3 months, I can't remember exactly, but I think that was it. If we apply the same characteristics here to these new customers, can we predict which of those newly joined customers will stay with us in the long term, and which ones potentially may be at churn risk? So if you, as like a CEO or a management, if you have this information to say, we have new people coming in, they're at a high churn risk, then you can take action. You can say, well, what can we do to keep these people? Is there something that we can do? So that was distilling like all of this information that we have for thousands and thousands and thousands of customers, and basically translating it into two single visuals. So not pages and pages of bar charts and line charts, two simple scatter charts, and that's it. And then if we want to look at that, the next thing for the management, we go up to the right and we say, well, these are the characteristics. These are the top 10 characteristics for churning customers. Number one, they have a month-to-month contract. They don't have a long-term contract. So what can we do? They have no online security. They've got no tech support. They have paperless billing. They pay through a bank withdrawal. They have no referrals. So this is kind of telling the management, these are the typical characteristics of a customer who churns. And then we can take those characteristics and we can make recommendations. So we can say, if we look at the churn customers, we can say, what can we do to move a month-to-month contract person either to a yearly contract, or maybe think of something new like a quarterly contract. If you can move them from a month-to-month to like a 3-month contract, maybe we can increase what they call like the stickiness. You know, if someone's going to stay with the company. So if we have these kind of recommendations that we can give to the stakeholder, the board, they can take that away. They can assess it. If they think it's a good idea, they can take action on that. So yeah, that was a winner that I got for that one.
I think Marjorie just pressed hard for you. Could we stay on that one a bit?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna recap here for you guys that haven't seen this in MAVEN Analytics, but for you guys that have done this challenge, Marjorie, Narech, please, Papa, please let me know what you guys think. But for my take, for people who have learned this first time, I have done this. This is actually the one that I contact Gerard that said that I don't understand what's going on here. I think I know, but I'm not sure. So I try to ask him. We didn't know each other before, and he's so kind to explain this to me. So that's why I call him Jaran from time to time. And so I understand that he understands Thai as well. So for people who have just learned here, the thing that normally data analytics is about the past. Like you know that, okay, this character of customer in the past are the one that is gonna leave you, and they pay you with if they pay you with cash, they feel more hurtful than charge with credit card and etc. So so that's psychology. So that's why they are leaving you more often than people who charge with credit card and have recommend if people recommend you to their friends, obviously they are impressed by you. And the thing that Gerard did here on the upper scatter plot is actually he grouped customer again. This is what I'm trying to say. Like he grouped customer into character. But now if because to introduce me to you guys, I'm emergency room doctor. This is kind of like triage people. Like you triage people into emergency, not emergency. And then you have score, like people that has high blood pressure, normal pressure, low blood pressure. And then the next time that people come in, it will be the lower chart. So you have the score that you think it works. So next time people come in with high pressure, high blood pressure in ER, you probably say this is high risk. So it's kind of the same thing for me to translate like that, and for you guys to apply this to your data of customer who is going to leave you or who is going to love your brand. It will be excellent for me. Papa say, which method do you prefer, RFM or churn risk when we analyze customer? I think he asking you.
Sorry?
Papa say, which method would you prefer, RFM or churn risk when we analyze about customer? RFM is what? Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm not. As I say, I'm not an expert in this field, so I'm not overly familiar with all the terms with like customer analysis, things like that. But yeah, I kind of if I get given the task to do, I'll research it and then execute it. But yeah, so I'm unfortunately I'm not sure.
They said that normally we can give score customer with RFM. Could you explain a little bit more, Papa? It would be great for us to learn from you as well. And anyway, we could go on
Yeah.
and then while
Yeah.
Papa give us some knowledge about, because I understand that you guys have done this professionally, you probably have some score that already did. So it'd be
Yeah.
great for us to learn from you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll not spend too much time on the rest of these. I'll try and go through them because I want to talk about the pizza challenge. But this was maybe one about just using business KPIs, about developing sort of KPI scorecards for like a logistics company here for revenue, delivery, your top customers, and top products. So we want to know, how we're doing this year. If we have targets, if we have targets for the month, if we have targets for discounts and delivery. So how our KPIs, how are we measuring against the targets that we set for the year? So that was kind of this basis of this dashboard, and looking at sort of reporting month revenues and reporting year revenues, how we're performing. So this is kind of like like a board level KPI dashboard. I'll not spend too much time on it because I want to get into the other stuff. And then this was I think my most recent win. So this was looking at Apple and their push to go net zero by 2030. So it was analyzing their data for the past, I think, 7 or 8 years in terms of the amount of carbon that they're generating from developing their products and selling them and their corporate environment and stuff like that. So I took the role of like a journalist to look at their, again, break this up into 2 sections, looking at progress to date. So the 7 years, so how are they performing to date? So up until 2022, what have they done so far? And then kind of what's the target? So are they on target? Does it look like they're on target? Yes, kind of looks like they're on target. So this visual is kind of explaining or visualizing their pathway to net zero. And then the bottom one is then sort of diving a bit more deeper into that, actually asking the question, well, is it just linear that they're going to reach this? Or is there some aspect of their carbon reduction that is sort of contributing the most? So we looked at sort of manufacturing. So we looked at everything else wasn't really decreasing. It was only manufacturing was accounting for almost all of their reduction. So the question was like, how low can manufacturing go? Like, how close to zero can manufacturing go? If everything else is not decreasing, what's the likelihood that all of manufacturing will reach these sort of small numbers? And I had that sort of doubt in the back of my mind. So it looks, if you look at it at a high level picture, it looks like, these guys are going to reach this target, no problem. They're well below their target. But if you dig a level deeper into the data and analyze the sort of subcategories and what's happening, you probably find different types of trends. So you want to do that sort of layered analysis. You can do a high level analysis and then a deeper dive into the underlying analysis to see what's happening in there.
So let me, because I haven't, could you go back a bit? Because I haven't read this clearly. I understand it the first time that you say it here. Could I ask a bit on, so on the below, you say that the product transportation is increased. So it's mean that what you are saying, maybe they could not reach the target because the portion of it are now increasing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like their product use is not really, it's decreasing. The carbon emissions from product use isn't really decreasing. There's a small decrease. The transportation, the carbon emissions from transportation is actually increasing over the years. So if it keeps increasing, so if here it's from 2015 to 2022, it's increasing. If people are buying more iPhones and consuming more, the transportation may keep increasing. If that trend continues, it keeps going up. Then we get this stage where the carbon emissions for transportation and product use, there's no real change over 15 years. What they're relying on is the reduction in manufacturing. So it's going from like 29.6
that's very good.
million tons. That they'll need to get from 29.6 down to 4.2, which is a massive decrease. And I doubt it's whether they are able to achieve that, because normally when you're going through like an industrial process and you're reducing, costs or anything associated with it, you do the easy stuff first. So it's like the Pareto rule, or the Pareto principle. It's like you get 80% of your reduction with 20% of the effort. So you get all the easy stuff done quickly, but the final 20% requires 80% of the effort. So it's the most difficult is the final 20%. So that's where I had my doubts about whether it's actually possible or feasible to get very low manufacturing emissions.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was interrupting you, so.
No, it's fine. And then like they're all kind of like sort of business related, but then we also did the sort of like some, what you might want to call fun challenges or sort of infographics. Like we looked at space, about exploration in space, who's went to which planets, and then we looked at sort of rockets that have left Earth and they've gone sort of intergalactic. They've left like the solar system. So just again, the World Cup, again, looking at a team like Uruguay, seeing their participation over the years, telling a story that it's a small country, only 3 million people, but they've won the World Cup 2 times. They've been Olympic champions twice, etc. So it's like a small underdog country, but they sort of do well when they do it. So again, even like Tour de France, again, I talk about experimenting. So this is like experimenting with like a different type of visual, because it's not business report. It's kind of like an educational or like a sort of a fun infographic. I always take that as like an excuse to maybe experiment with maybe some type of visual that's not sort of too common. So this is like a stream graph. It's almost like an area graph, but it's like a mirror image. And this is looking at sort of Europe. Typically, like in the area from 1905 until present day, most cyclists, they come from Europe, this green color. But since the 1980s, then other continents, people have started taking part. So this is kind of the growth of people from South America, North America, Asia, Africa, and Oceania taking part in the Tour de France and sort of telling a little bit of a story about that. And then things like looking at maternity leave for tech.
I like this one.
Stuff like that. So again, a bit of an experimentation using like a box and whiskers and stuff like that to look at companies that were surveyed on maternity leave and how we can kind of visualize that. As I say, experimenting.
This is pretty good for HR, and I actually have recommend this for people that. So first, this is if you are HR and if you listen to this is a great way if people say that, okay, that let's say that company has X week of maternity leave, and you want to say like, okay, most company have this kind of paid maternity leave, and then maybe that is an outlier, or etc., like salary and everything. So this is first one is I recommend this for HR. But the second thing that I really like this is the price when you pay for things in the market. I have recommended this chart for people who come from construction company actually, because they have to look at things in the market and say that, okay, this company sell us an old price wood or cement, etc. So and the thing it's pretty great for seeing an outlier, or is it in the median of everyone.
Yeah, we like in my company, we don't use this exact visual, but something like this where we do cost analysis. So if we have groups of things that we need to buy or construct, we group them into different categories, and we will collect from different projects, like the rate, how much that cost in different projects. And then we have them grouped. And then if we have a new project that's coming up and we want to check the rate for that component, we drop it in here and we see where it fits along the scale. Is it like above? Is it well above average? Is it below average? Is it like an outlier? And then we can use that to go back to a contractor and say, you proposed this rate for this component. That seems excessively high based on our experience. Why is it high? So you can target your questions when you're asking them. If everything else is kind of average and it looks okay, if you have one or two things that are outliers or falling outside what you would normally see, we use this type of analysis and visualization to enable us then to ask sort of targeted questions to contractors.
That's true.
Yeah.
Any comment from you guys? Please do, but
Yeah.
go on. So we can
Yeah.
go on. Pizza challenge. We haven't done pizza challenge yet.
Yeah. Next. All right. Okay, so to get on to today's review, I'll get through some. Okay. So
No, go ahead. No worries.
Looking at this, what I want to look is how we approach a challenge or the story. Some of the stuff we've talked about already, the importance of an end user or stakeholder, how we perform like an analysis for an action. So we want some actions to come out of our analysis, especially in a business setup. Looking at how I kind of wireframed or mocked this up, the structure of it, what we consider in terms of our structure and flow, how I use text plus visuals for better understanding. So it's not just text, not just visuals. If you combine them together, you get much better understanding. And then pre-attentive attributes. Some people may ask what that is. I'm sure most people know what it is, but how do they work and how have they worked in this presentation? So this challenge, most of the time you'll have a brief in a challenge like this, and in your own work, if you work with data, if you have a client or a customer, they'll usually have a scope or a set of requirements that they need from your report. And you can define and document those requirements as part of your process. But for this one, if I look at the requirements, so my role is a data analyst. So I'm employed by a pizza shop owner. The aims are we need to analyze the performance for 2015. There's a few things that they've asked for. They want to look at seating capacity. So they've a restaurant with 15 tables with 4 chairs each. So 60, it sits 60 people. You want to look at peak periods in time, look at the usage of different ingredients. And then my aim is then to make appropriate recommendations on what they should do. So they provided some data. We have a list of all the transactions, so all the pizzas or all the transactions, all the orders that have happened over 1 year. Then we have a breakdown of the order details about, how many pizzas are in there, what it costs, etc. Then we have what we might call a dimension table. So it's just a table that shows us the different pizzas, their sizes, and the respective costs. And again, another dimension table, which is the types of pizzas and then the ingredients that are included in those types of pizzas. So how do I start? So the number one thing, especially for something like this, is to consider the end user. So what I call empathy. So you need to imagine who the end user is. Normally in a business setting, you can talk to the business or whoever the stakeholder is, or whoever the manager or the client is, you can talk directly to them. In a challenge, you don't really have that luxury of talking to someone, so you kind of have to imagine in its best way you can. So if I consider the end user, I need to think, what is it that they want to see and what do they want to know? And what outcomes do they want from this report? Most business owners, they want to improve efficiency and make more money. So if you have that front of your head all the time, business owners don't care about the type of analysis. Well, generally, they don't really care about the type of analysis you've done or anything like the details of it. They want to know what the outcome is and what they should do in order to make themselves more money, be more efficient. And again, then I look next is, if I want those outcomes, can the data that we have been provided with provide that level of analysis? So sometimes you might just get data that's kind of rubbish. It won't tell you anything. You don't want to make things up. So if the data can't support the analysis, then you can't do the analysis. So you might need to go back to your stakeholder and ask them for that. or you just have to simplify your analysis. And then I would think about consider how I want to present and visualize this analysis. Is it going to be simple or complex? Depending on who your audience is. If it's a CEO, management, someone who owns a company, you probably want to be quite simple. If it's someone who's, a forensic accountant or someone who's into the level of detail and they want to know everything about it, you might want to do a more complex analysis and present it. And then again, whether it's a professional report or relaxed, so if it's a business setting, obviously we want to go for a professional type report. So yeah, again, focus on the empathy for the end user. So who is it and what do they want? So if I think about this restaurant owner, a small, independent Italian restaurant owner in New York, what kind of report would this business person work best? And this could be applied anywhere. New York pizza shop, could be a seafood restaurant in Yawarlat, or it could be anywhere around the world, just like a small restaurant. So you might ask the question, is this person familiar with data analysis techniques? Probably not. Are they familiar with complex type visuals like, Sankey charts and all these types of different reports? Probably not. Will that person have a lot of time to review the content of my report and analyze different visuals and pages of text, etc.? Probably not.
Yeah.
Will they want to be able to drill down into different aspects of it and explore it and filter and slice, etc.? They probably don't have time and they're probably not interested. So I think those things I can remove from what I want to show. And then I think about things that they do know. So if you think about a business owner, if you're a business owner yourself or anyone else is a business owner, they generally have a good idea about how their business performs day to day. I'm sure this business owner knows what's his best selling pizza. I'm sure he knows that he's busy at lunchtime.
That's true.
So
that's a good take, actually.
Yeah. So your analysis shouldn't be, this is your best selling pizza, and this is when you're busy at lunchtime. That might be part of your analysis, but that shouldn't be like
all of your analysis.
Shouldn't be your end result. You shouldn't be telling them things that they already know.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's right, because normally when we say sales performance report, we do sales performance report. Like this lipstick sell the most. But we didn't know, we probably know which day people are busy coming buying our stuff. But we wouldn't know like what's next. It's kind of hard because you don't know what actions to take and why.
Yeah. So I'm thinking this person will want a simple, straightforward report. And they'll probably want to be able to take actions to improve their business. They want you to tell them what you recommend. You need to make a recommendation. Don't just give an analysis and show it there and say, you might want to think about this, blah, blah, blah. You need to say, this is what's happening in your business. This is potentially the reason why. And these are actions or recommendations that you can take to improve, either make more money, improve your efficiency, reduce wastage, something like that. You need to be able to tell them exactly what you think they should do. And then it's up to them whether they think, yes, that's a good idea, or no, that's not a good idea. But at least if you propose the recommendations and the actions, it's there for them. And as I've already mentioned, they definitely want to know how they can be more efficient and how they can make more profit. So these are the things you need to empathize with. You need to think of yourself as the business owner. What do I want to see in this report? I think I've talked about this a little bit. So talking about analysis for action. So what can I analyze for action? So we talked about the simple analysis. So how many units were sold and the cost. So he's starting to get bored. What's the best selling pizza? He's starting to fall asleep. And what's the busy times? He's in bed sleeping. He's like, I already know this. You're boring me with this detail. But the owner might want to know, the owner probably knows this information already, but what else can drive action? So how efficient is the usage of seating? So if the seating usage is not efficient, maybe he can change the way he manages his tables, the number of seats, change the setup, etc. Other things like ingredients. What does he use the most? What do they use the least? And then what's the action? So if there's some ingredients that you use like a lot of, you may want to go to your supplier and say, listen, I buy 10 pounds of tomatoes every year from you. I want a discount because I'm buying this much off you every year, so I need discounts from now on this. If there's ingredients that you're not using so much, maybe you want to reduce the number of, or you maybe want to reduce your stock on that, or you just want to stop buying them altogether because you're wasting money on them, especially if they cost a lot of money.
True.
So these are the type of actions that you want to be able to take, or that the owner will want to be able to take.
So basically,
Yeah.
if you guys are listening to this, so to apply to your situation, and you need to know like what does performance mean? Like performance mean you are seating people. People are not sitting, one big table, just one person. You need to know a little bit like what performance mean in your business, and then you can analyze it better. So that's my take. Go on.
Yeah. I think to sort of talk about that. So again, on the challenge, I have to make some assumptions. Like normally, if you should be able to talk, or maybe go to the business, see how it operates, or talk to the owner and ask them. But for this, I made some assumptions that I think I can defend because they seem reasonable. Okay, so like for example, here when I was like, if I'm going to do like the analysis for the tables, I assume that if you go in and order one pizza, it's probably for one person. Might be a small pizza, it might be medium. Although there's going to be some issues, like if he orders an XXL pizza, he's going to eat that for one. But it's difficult to account for all the issues. We could bring that in if we were doing this in real life for our business. But to keep this simple, we assume that one pizza for one person, 1 hour from the time they came into the restaurant, ordered, waited for it to be served, eat it, and leave. And typical customer behavior is that if you go in, whether you're like one person or two people, or three people, you will sit at one table. If there's three people sitting at a table and you go in by yourself and you order one pizza, you won't go and sit with the other three people who you don't know. You'll go to a different table. That's just normal behavior from people. So we don't act rational or logical in terms of like we take up in the most efficient manner. So like just visualizing that here on the top, I visualized 4 tables. So first table, 1 customer, 1 pizza, 25% utilization. Second table, 3 pizzas. I think I should have wrote 75. I think I wrote that wrong. Sorry, 75%. Second table, 2 pizzas, 50%. Third table, 4 pizzas, 100% utilization. So we consider that 16 seats. We're using 10 out of 16, so our utilization is 10 over 16, whatever that percentage is. So that's like the basis of my analysis on calculating the efficiency of how we utilize tables and seats in the restaurant. And then for ingredients, then we have different sizes of pizza: small, medium, large, extra, extra large. And for a pizza, we have pizza dough, and then we have ingredients. So, tomato, pepperoni, ham. Yeah. So, and then if you, to look at this, you can't assume that a small pizza and an XXL pizza will use the same amount of ingredients for pepperoni pizza. There's going to be a ratio. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, you'll know that there's a ratio in terms of, like, I used to work in a pizza restaurant. There might be like a cup of pepperoni for small, 2 cups for medium, 3 cups for large. So I kind of developed this ratio that dough, the number of serves for dough, number of serves for ingredients, so that when we build this model, we can calculate the amount of ingredients we're using, the amount of dough balls that we're using, and we take account of the size of the pizzas that are being ordered. So in terms of doing the analysis, I won't go through the analysis per se, but I perform most of my work in Power BI, but analysis can be done in Excel, Tableau, Power BI. There's other different platforms. The tool is not really important, but what I typically do is I'll import and clean the data. I'll build a model or a schema. We have the different tables, whether it's the pizza types, the orders, the order IDs, etc. We build these relationship models so that we're able to connect the different tables using one-to-many relationships. What else I did here was I built a running total model to calculate the number of customers in the restaurant at any one time. So this one, you have an index and an order ID. So it's the order ID and the date and the time. The quantity of pizzas, how many tables are being occupied, the running total customers. And then we have I want to calculate whether the number of tables are being exceeded. So whether we go above 15 tables or whether the number of customers is exceeded. So we go above 60 customers. So this is just the initial 39 line items, but we have the time. So we have one table, one customer, and then we have 5 customers. So we assume they take up 2 tables because it's more than 4. So we go from 1 table to 3 tables, and then we keep going down. So it keeps increasing. And then at 11:38 to 12:38 is 1 hour. So that first customer leaves. So we get a minus. So they subtract. So this continues down, the people who are coming and leaving. So we have a running total each day of the number of tables being occupied and the number of customers in the restaurant at any one time. So I had hundreds of thousands of line items because it was different times. But this was a running calculation that I could use to analyze. I think I've got it here. So this is the number of customers, and then the time. So this is just the 1st of January.
Okay.
For the first 4 or 5 hours. So it just shows the number of customers, 10, 20, 30. So you come up and you get at lunchtime, I think around here is 1 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock. So the peak hours at lunchtime, you got maybe 30 customers in the restaurant eating at that time. So you got the peak time, and then it drops off again in the afternoon. But again, it's just a simple analysis. And I did the same for measuring the pizza sales, looking at which ingredients were being used, etc. I guess the point here is there's a lot of analysis and assessment being done sort of in the background or in the back end. The work behind the scenes is what you do as an analyst. It's not, I don't need to show all of these tables and these little line charts showing the date from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. Showing all that information is probably not going to be of benefit to the end user. So the work that you do behind the scenes is the work that you do behind the scenes. You don't need to show all your working. It's like the opposite of a school exam. When you did maths in school, they said, show your working, show me how you calculated this, show me all your steps. In data analysis, it's the opposite. It's don't show me your working. Show me the answers.
Yes.
Show me the answer, and that's all I'm interested in. Yeah. As I say, I probably don't have time to go through, but I have YouTube videos showing how I did the calculations and stuff. If anyone wants to see what that happened.
For you guys who didn't know, Gerard is using Power BI for this one, correct?
Yeah, Power BI. Yeah. Again, I didn't want to focus too much on the analysis of creating calculations.
Okay.
It's all kind of, I think most people will have a general understanding of how it's done. The next step is, from my point of view, the next step in creating something is to sort of create a plan on how you want to visualize this. It may not be the final product, but it gives you kind of an idea. So some people call it, a plan or a wireframe or a mock-up or whatever you want to call it. And so we want to create a plan and use hierarchy. So you want to go from a high-level analysis maybe to more detailed. Traditionally, I know not every culture, but most cultures, you read left to right or else top down. So we should set up our reports in that way where you read something going from left to right. So here, like on this, I've got, maybe a summary on the left-hand side. And then if we have like annual staffing, so it's like high level. And then we want to look at weekly. So you're going into a more detailed level. So we start off in terms of hierarchy, highest level, next level, most detail. So you go in level of detail from left to right. So you can flow that way. And what you want to do is separate, or what I wanted to do was separate the sections so that when people are reading this, they want to know about staffing. They look at this, they just look at staff. They know what to look. They look at these two visuals because it's about staffing. It's enclosed in its own section. So I know the visuals inside here are related to staffing. Same with food again, and seating. And then provide context. So we have the visuals, but you also want to provide sort of the text to support the visuals, especially if it's like a static report like this. It's just a page that you're going to give to a client. If it's just a chart, they need to interpret the chart. They need to understand what it is. The text will help them if they read what the text says, and then they see that the visual supports what the text is saying. That's always good. So that's what I want to do here. And then we have this thing called white space. Again, most people might know what this is. White space doesn't need to be white. It's just like, it's just space between areas. So you want to be able to like review maybe staffing and review one visual, and then you have a space between the next visual. So it's having that sort of space so that they're not sort of sitting on top of each other. They're not like right side by side, and you end up then looking at like two visuals at one time. But yeah, so that's what I kind of do. It doesn't need to be the final article, but if you have a bit of a plan, then you know what needs to be visualized. You know where you're going to put your visuals, what the structure is going to be, what the flow and the hierarchy is going to be. So this is what I was talking about, left to right. So we would look at this and then move to the next, then move to the next, and then we go down, move left to right, and then go down and left to right. So we have this sort of Z type shape. That typically is how we would read a report. Yeah.
So basically, if you guys look at your report now, it would be a good time to see if it's a lie or is it setting pretty easy for eyes. That's my take. It's kind of like one square, one square, one square, and one square have only two equal rectangles.
Yeah, and if it's consistent, it's easy to read because the end user knows what to expect. They know there's going to be text, visuals, text. There's no surprise. They're not going to be surprised when they're reading it and they see something. They don't need to change their thinking about how they need to read this. It's just the same stuff that they're looking at. And then another thing is like looking at the types of visuals that you're going to use. So there are different resources. Like this is the Financial Times. They have like a visual guide. There's other people that you'll see on LinkedIn. They have various types of guides that if you want to visualize a certain thing, like a part to whole or change over time, what types of visuals they would recommend that you use. And it's usually here, like from these ones, they start simple at the top and then get more complex as you go down. So, but most of the ones I'll be looking at would be change over time, maybe magnitude, and part to whole. And typically I'll be using simple ones like bar charts, line charts, maybe donuts, things like that. So as I say, the simple ones at the top, more complex ones at the bottom. Typically in business, my advice would be to keep it as simple as possible because most people understand simple visuals like line charts and bar charts and column charts. When you get down to these more sort of complex charts like waterfalls and things like that, some people won't know what they mean. It'll be more difficult. You'll have to explain what it is in person almost. So yeah, the recommendation is to keep them as simple as possible. And you'll see them, well, you've seen in my report, is keeping them as simple as possible. I think the more complex visuals, it's only if it's really, really required. There's like a specific need, or if it's something that's a bit educational or it's not business related, it's a bit more fun. It's like something that people don't mind sitting down and reading and maybe taking a little bit of time to review it and analyze. Like the Lego one, I had a stream chart type thing. People don't mind looking at that and then say, "Oh, it looks quite good. I'm not sure what it means, but I'll look at it a bit more and see if I can understand this." So I wouldn't use a stream graph in like a business setting, but I'll use it in something similar type of setting.
So for people who have look at that Financial Times, am I correct, or New York Times? Financial Times, New York Financial Times. So this is you guys can search. This is for free, so you can look at different types of graph. However, the simpler one or the most familiar one is actually what Ajahn Gerard recommend, and also I think so too. For business settings, to showing complex graph is one of a border that you have to explain like how to look at the graph before you get to actually the burger or the meat of the data. So
yeah. All right. So when I brought this together, how does it kind of work? So this is me bringing together. Then you'll see that the wireframe slightly changed. So I've got like a summary at the top, and I rearranged and brought the seating to the front because I thought this was a key recommendation that I thought was the most important recommendation to improve their efficiency. So I thought I'd bring this to the top. So I reordered the sequence in terms of the more important aspects of it. So if I look at this at a high level and look at it break the structure down, again, it's consistent across each kind of row. We have a title on the left showing summary and metrics. Number 2, we've got a key summary. So we're having a summary of what the entire report is telling us. So it's telling us that this is business performance for 2015. We're looking at seating capacity, peak times, inventory usage, and then recommendations to improve operational performance. And we're highlighting these aspects of it. Again, we move across to sort of overall performance in our revenue, number of pizzas sold, number of dough balls, used ingredient serves. This is where we broke down in terms of the size of the pizza and how many served ingredients we're using. And then sort of average, or the total for the whole year, what our daily average was, and then what our typical order was telling us. So our revenue was $817,000. Typically, we'd make $2,200 a day. And each order on average was around $38. So it's giving us these sort of high level metrics that you could look at and just see. These on their own, maybe they're okay. They're maybe of some benefit. If you had the data from 2014, for example, it might be better because then you could perform or you could analyze versus the previous year. Is the order, are the orders increasing? Are the pizzas being sold being increasing? But unfortunately here, we just had like a single year of data. But if we had more as we move forward, when we did the 2016 and 2017 reviews, you could do that sort of KPI performance looking at the previous year.
Let me clarify this a bit because maybe people didn't know about this challenge. The ingredient serves is sales on ingredient serves or what?
No, it's the number of serves of an ingredient of different types of ingredients. So if you have, if I went back to one of the previous slides, if I had like a small pizza and it was like let's say a pepperoni pizza, it had 1 serve of tomatoes, 1 serve of cheese, and 1 serve of pepperoni. So that's 3 ingredient serves. But if it was a large pizza, then it'd be like 3 servings of tomatoes, 3 servings of cheese, 3 servings of pepperoni. So this is just adding up like the serves of individual ingredients. So that like the quantity of ingredients. It's almost like cups of ingredients.
Why is it expensive? I have to clarify.
No, that's not cost.
Yes.
It's not cost. That's not the cost value. That's just the quantity. So the number of cups.
Okay. Number of cups. It's not US dollar.
It's not the dollar. Yeah, those aren't dollar values.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Next one then, the pizza performance. So we look at the highest number sold, highest revenue. So the number of pizzas that were sold most, well, brought in the most revenue. So Thai chicken pizza. What was the lowest number sold? It was a brie cheese pizza, and the revenue that we're getting from that. So just highlighting at a high level the best and worst performers in terms of revenue, the number or the dollar revenue, and then the percentage of all sales. So looking at that. So again, the flow, we're going flow left to right. We're getting summary, overall performance, and then individual pizza performance. We're going from a hierarchy of high level detail to more detail. And if we go to the next one, again, overall flow is reading left to right again. We have our title again on the left-hand side. And what I want is the key recommendation. So what do we want to do? So it's at the top, or the action. So we highlight the key recommendation. What is it that the owner needs to do? Needs to urgently introduce counter service or two-seated tables to accommodate lone diners or couples. So what we're telling them here is that during the year, there were a number of days where the number of tables required exceeded what they have. So 15 tables, he only has 15 tables in his restaurant. So this is 15. All these days, there was never, in gray, all these days, there was never a time where more than 15 tables were being occupied. Above this, there were probably people waiting for tables because of this. So we're saying there were 80 days where we exceeded the 15 available tables. So we're saying there's a utilization inefficiency. And that's fine. So that's the first level of analysis. You tell me what's happening, but why? And that's where we go to the next visual across. So from our first visual text, our supporting visual. So this is supporting, it's giving us, telling us why. So why are the tables being underutilized? Well, if we look at it, 2/3 of our orders are just for one or two pizzas. So these are probably people coming in and ordering one pizza for lunch and then sitting at a table by themselves. Or two people coming in ordering two pizzas, sitting at a table by themselves. So they're taking up a full table, but only one or two seats. And that's 2/3 of your orders. So if these lone diners are occupying 4 seats, they're affecting your utilization and your efficiency. So what can we do to improve that? So that's the recommendation. It's like if you have a counter where lone diners can sit just on their own, or you have smaller tables where people can sit on their own or in twos, you're gonna be more efficient. You're gonna have higher utilization. So that's kind of what these two visuals. And again, simple visual. It's like just dots and a simple donut. There's nothing complex. It's text plus a visual gives you the action to take. And then here at the bottom, notes. So it's always good then to provide like, what was your basis? Are there any caveats or anything in here? I put this in like small italic font at the bottom. It's not drawing too much attention, but if you want to know what that is, it's here and you can read it and see what it is. If you want to know a bit more detail. So we have the big detail up here and then some sort of background information on the bottom.
So my take on here for you guys is actually the grouping as well here on the pizza, like, because you probably have how many pizza did they order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but you group into only 2 groups, like 1 to 2 and more than 2. So that's actually for you guys to decide.
If I wanted, I could have put in 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5 pieces, but it doesn't matter. It would have been distracting. It's more information to process. All we wanted to know is that those people order more than 2 pizzas. We don't need to know if they ordered 6 pizzas or 15 pizzas. They ordered more than 2. So we don't want to distract. Part of this is we want people to focus on the information that we want to communicate to them. Anything else that isn't as important, we don't need to focus or provide any additional information on that.
Mm.
Again, I'll not spend too much time, but again, similar structure. We're looking at peak timing. So we want to say,
Answer your questions
yeah.
from before.
Yeah, I know this was, I know we said this might have been a bit of a boring one for the manager because he probably knows that he's busy on a Friday and at lunchtimes here. But it was more to say, ensure that you have appropriate staff levels for these periods and that, you know, you have prepped your ingredients and your dough and all this sort of stuff. You have people there. And maybe one thing that we highlighted here was the revenue variance, where we were looking at Friday. So we're looking at like average revenue per day. And we look at the variance. So on a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday, you earn more than average. On a Sunday, you earn less than actually Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you earn slightly less, but Sunday is a lot less. So it might even be that if the owner sees this, they say, oh, we're not making a lot of money on a Sunday. Maybe we should just close on Sundays or something like that. If we're not making, if we're making a lot less than what we normally make other days, why do we work on a Sunday if we're not making money? Or they might just have, you know, less staff or whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah, this is for I think for everywhere, for a hospital especially. You have
Yes.
you don't have pizza, you have people, patients, and then you have normally you cannot hire part-time. Normally, I mean, like in hospital, you cannot hire part-time staff, but you can relocate staff to the day that people didn't come in and then the day that people come in the most. So this is a good way to relocate your strategy or your resource without increase any fixed costs or any people that you have to hire and then they just sit around because there's no people coming in on Sunday, etc.
Yeah. And then the last one was a recommendation on ingredients. So again, the recommendation was to maybe renegotiate your wholesale costs on the ingredients you use the most and maybe consider removing the least used ingredients and the worst selling pizzas. So what we're saying here is, you know, to make pizzas, you order a lot of garlic, tomatoes, red onions, red peppers, and cheese. And these are the number of pizzas that use that type of ingredient. And this is the number of serves or cups of that ingredient that we used in the past year. And this is the percentage of total ingredients that were used. So you can say that the top 5 ingredients, out of 66 ingredients, the top 5 accounted for 38% of all your ingredient usage. So again, you might want to say, well, if these are the top 5, I want to make sure I'm paying the best price or the lowest price for these ingredients because they are taking up the biggest portion of my ingredients. And then we look over here, there's these ingredients like thyme, prosciutto, pears, caramelized onion, brie cheese. So these are only in one pizza. And like over here, garlic's used in 62,000 ingredient serves, but this brie is only used in 490. So it's a lot less. And these 5 ingredients are only used in 0.4% of our pizzas. So you might want to think about either removing these and removing that one pizza. We don't want to sell that anymore because we don't sell a lot of it and we're probably wasting a lot of ingredients. We're probably throwing stuff in the bin at the end of the day because no one buys it. Or you just want to maybe reduce the amount of ingredient that you order each week. If there's a certain day or something that people order this, maybe you order it just for those days. So you just reduce the amount of that ingredient that you use. Again, this is kind of consistent messaging and how we're presenting this. Again, overall flow from left to right. The information is there. We got a key recommendation, text, visual. Again, this visual is nothing fancy. It's just a table with information and little bar charts. But that's kind of what we want to do. Keep it simple.
If you are Italian restaurant owner, you probably favor bar charts and then simple takes that okay, you need to stop order brie or
Yeah.
whatever that you didn't sell much. So
Yeah.
that's for you guys to take home and think about this weekend. Like, what is your ingredient in your company? The ingredient is the thing that you buy to actually make products. So that's my take. And then the staff is, everywhere I have staff. If even you are in any kind of work, cosmetics, retails, hospital, constructions. So that's a good way to have your strategy based on time, peak time, and then utilization of customer table, etc.
All right. So maybe we take a slightly different slant here. So we've reviewed the report, but I want to look at what actually makes that report and others easier to understand. So there are visual attributes that affect how we see and interpret information. And if we can understand and apply these attributes, they greatly improve your visuals and reports. So I just wanted to quickly look at how these work. So we have these, what they're called pre-attentive attributes. Sometimes called like Gestalt principles. I think I've got a book here. There's a book called The Laws of UX, and they go through some of this as well. And most visual books go through them. I think storytelling with data. I've got that here as well somewhere. Yeah, storytelling with data. You see, I've got lots of notes on this book. So that this one goes through this as well. And if anyone's read these books or similar books, they'll probably be familiar with this. But yeah, we have these different attributes that we can apply to our visuals to make them easier to understand. So if we look at them, and we look at what pre-attentive attributes are. So you're probably aware, everyone's probably aware of short-term memory and long-term memory and the difference between short-term and long-term. It's a bit like a computer with its sort of RAM and hard drive capacity. But there's also another thing called iconic memory, which is very short-term memory. So it's almost like an instantaneous processing of information before it's pushed to short-term memory. So you have this sort of stimulus that's taken in by the eye and it gets pushed into your brain. And iconic memory is greatly influenced by these pre-attentive attributes. And it's kind of like something from evolution, like when people were cavemen and things like that, they had to make these.
I remember the cave icon
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, you have to make instant decisions about should you run or should you fight, and you have to process a lot of information very quickly. And this is kind of what we're talking about. And in addition to this, we also have what's called cognitive load, which is the amount of information that our memory can hold at one time. I guess it's a bit like RAM on a computer. So what can we process in the short term? How much information can we ingest and keep in our short-term memory and remember? And what we want to do with our visuals is to limit the amount of stimulus. So our brain only holds the important information. It doesn't need to hold the stuff that's not important, like the noise. Like previously, we talked about the number of pizzas, 1 to 2 pizzas, or greater than 2 pizzas. We only wanted to know the 1 to 2. So that was what we wanted to focus. So we wanted people to remember it was 1 to 2 pizzas. Now greater than 2, we didn't need to know whether it was 3 or 4 or 6 or 10. That's not important. So our visualization, we want to limit the amount of stimulus or information that we need people to process. So I thought I'll play a little game. Some people have probably seen this before, but it's sort of an eye opener. So if we look at this, I'll give you 10 seconds and you tell me how many nines can you see here?
ใครที่มาดูนะคะ มี9 กี่อันแบบลองนับ 10 seconds, guys.
Yes.
Just type. If you guys, oh, Papa typed very fast. 8.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So 10 seconds. Yeah. So I think it was it, but it was quite.
Wow.
You have to
Very
manually.
fast, guy.
Yeah, you have to manually go through each row and find the number.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the next one, how about now? How
Yeah.
long will it take you to count those?
It's much easier. I mean, for our people and people who are falling asleep in your classroom as well.
Yes. So this is one of the pre-attentive attributes of color. So obviously we use this in our visuals, but if you want to have people focus on one aspect, you can use color. And if you have something like gray in the background, it usually sort of blends into the background, the color stands out, so it's easy to see. Now, if we take this one step further, some people, they think, oh, I can use color. It's a pre-attentive attribute. I can use color everywhere and everyone will see everything I want them to show. So if I go now and I apply color everywhere, it becomes difficult again to see. It's almost the same as gray, because seeing the nines is almost as difficult because you're seeing lots of different colors. So this is kind of like an overuse of color.
That's true.
You don't know where to look. So if you think about using too many colors on your visuals, this is the effect that it has. People don't know exactly where to look. They're looking, but they're getting distracted by other things as well. So if you want someone to focus on the nines, color the nines and keep everything else unfocused. And if I go back to my first report, that's what I did here. You see here, I've got like maybe 6 or 7, 8, 9 different colors. You don't know what means anything unless you're looking at it individually. You don't get like an overview of what does color mean. Color doesn't mean anything here because I don't know what it means. I have to look at everything and interpret it and understand it. And I'm using up all of my cognitive load, all my iconic memory. Everything's being used at like full, at 100% for a visual like this, which is what we don't want to do.
Because normally people think that like one color or one character, like one color is one pizza. So you have 10 pizza, you have 10 color, but it's not true. You just want to know like less than 2 pizza and then more than 2 pizza, and then answer, should I serve XXX pizza for this time of the day, etc.
Yeah. And again, just going back to the report, you'll see I basically got 2 colors. I got a green color, which is just the standard color that I'm using, and red. Red is sort of showing where there's maybe poor performance or underperformance. So like at the top for worst selling pizzas, or for where we're over 15 tables, or where we have the lowest usage, we're using a single color. So it means the same thing. So if you see something red, you know it's probably bad news. If it's the other color, it's just about general performance, about what people are doing. So it's targeted, and then we have these grays. So again, I'll look at this in a bit more detail now. So color, if we look at color, which works better. So if I took that visual that I had previously, and instead of having gray, I had green.
No.
When you look at this,
it's
even though the 2 colors are competing for attention, you don't know, should I be looking at the green or should I be looking at the red? Which one means what? I'm not sure. You have to then go and read, the legend, and then read this and maybe look at the text and see what it means. So you're having to work, your brain's having to work too much to understand what this is telling you. But if I look at this, the gray is kind of fading into the background. It's not taking up my attention or my focus. What I'm just highlighting in focus is the sort of underperformance where we're exceeding the number of tables. So this is where we can use color in our visuals, single colors, to sort of highlight and focus what we want people to see, whether it's groups or things like this. So these are kind of like the small sort of little details that will improve your reports and your visuals a lot. Even we consider visuals even in text. So if I look at the text on the left-hand side here, we just have like some text that's being bolded. But if I use color, instead of not enough tables, I know it's not enough tables. Is that kind of good or bad? If I had it not enough tables as red, it sort of reinforces in my mind that, oh, this must not be good. And then like 80 days where we exceeded the 15 tables, 15 available tables. So just using color to highlight those few words, it kind of reinforces in your mind that this is something I need to focus on, and that it's probably not good news. So yeah, so you can use it both in your visuals and in the text that you're using.
Because it's more easy to the eyes. You know, people thought that red and green would be better because green is okay. So that's what we have learned throughout our entire history. But
Yeah.
for now, it's called cognitive load. That as Antara
Yes.
said. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then things like intensity. So I look at this little heat map for like the peaks during the week. We use color intensity, so going from a light to a dark color. So you can use different types of intensity. You can maybe use diverging colors or sequential. I wouldn't, for something like this, I wouldn't use diverging. So diverging usually goes like from a negative to a positive. So for example, if you were losing money or making money, if you were losing money, maybe have it red, or making money green. But because during these times we actually have customers, it's not negative customers. There's customers in the shop, so I wouldn't use red. What I used was a sequential. So we go from less customers, and then we use intensity. So the darkest green is where we have the most customers. The lightest green is where we have the least customers, but we still have customers. So we use sequential, like from a 0 to a maximum. Whereas diverging will go from a negative to a 0 to a maximum. But yeah, we can use color intensity as well to help us see. So even though here I'm not showing the exact values, just the color intensity gives me a sense that I can interpret that this is, 12 o'clock on a Thursday is my busiest day of the week, or 12 o'clock on Monday. It doesn't tell me how many people are in the shop or how many pizzas I've sold or how much ingredients I'm using. It's just telling me this is the busiest time. I don't need to know anymore. This is when I'm busy. Yeah. And then things like enclosure. So enclosure is when we put something like a media box or something around it to kind of group things together. So if I looked at my visual and instead of having like a box around here, I just had the title over here and then some text and this, that. Because it's not really grouped, so you may or may not be sure about whether these are like the same category or the same subject. So you don't know whether they're grouped. But if we do something very simple, like just enclosing them, like in a little box here, you group them together so that you know that everything in here is a summary. It's related to a summary or key metrics. And so you can read them in sort of one go. You can go through them and read them. And so we use these sort of a technique of enclosure. And again, on the heat chart, if you want to group like this Monday to Friday lunchtime, a little box around it, we enclose them and we're grouping them together. These are things that we consider together. That busiest time is lunchtime weekdays, or busiest other busy times are dinner time on a Friday and Saturday night. So yeah, it's different sort of techniques that we use to like reinforce the message or tell our story.
So
And again,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say like the pre-attentive, like if I look at this visual at the bottom with the boxes on it, my pre-attentive attribute is I look straight at what's inside the boxes. I'm almost ignoring everything outside it. I'm
That's
just
true.
focusing on what's inside the box because someone's pointing it out at me. I should be looking at these individual small boxes. I need to look at these for some reason. I don't know why, but my brain is telling me, evolution is telling me to look at these boxes. So we can use these tools or techniques to help how we tell a story. We want people to focus in on these particular areas. We can use enclosure and people will automatically look at it. They won't ignore it.
So my take on this for you guys, if you have for this one is actually you have to point out the if you are listening to, okay, how, what would you like me to see, you know, when your boss asks, it's actually you need to enclose or point out the things that you are emphasized, like even though Monday to Friday is actually really it's in dark green, however, if you don't circle or enclose, people wouldn't know what you're pointing out, what are you trying to say. So that's my take. That's all. Like, you have to point out where to look. So that's my take, I guess.
Yeah. And then size, I don't necessarily have too much to say on size. The only thing in this report was maybe related to text. So if for example, the top here, I have it where all the text is the same size, like your title is 12 point, your main text is 12 point, and your notes are 12 point. If it's all the same size, you may not be sure about, you know, what's the hierarchy, what should I be looking at first, what's the most important information, what's the least important information. So you're not sure where you should be focusing at because everything's the same. There's nothing telling my brain, look at this first because it's bigger, or ignore this because it's smaller, or just look at it maybe later because it's smaller. But in my report, maybe like the titles, if I have them at 18 point, you're going to read them first. If the main text is all 12, then you read those. And then if the notes at the bottom are small, you know, 9 or 10 font, you don't really pay attention to them because they're small, they're at the bottom. If you really want to, you can look at them, but they're not competing for your focus. So again, you don't want to overload your end user with everything. Like on the top, they don't know where to read first. Maybe they think that maybe they want to read the bottom or the top, the same size. Which one do I read? You want to give these indicators to their brains to send signals to say, read this first, read this second, read this third. And it could be with visuals as well. You can have large visuals that are the focus, and the size of that visual will determine whether someone will focus on that. But here, just looking at text.
So again, to look at this, as you can see, so a lot of people that I know, and including me before I was learning, we use a lot of red to emphasize things. Like we use a lot of red, like red is not good, red is etc. But as you can see here, we only got red for, I don't know, 10 to 20%. So that's maybe the things that you need to go back and look at, because that's how you emphasize key message. And from Ajahn Gerard, what he did is actually, as you can see, like least used ingredient is not all red. It's just like the word least used ingredient, and then the worst selling. That's all.
Yeah, people get desensitized if everything's red, and they
Yes.
keep seeing red. Then red becomes normal
No,
because
that's true.
you see it all the time. So you want to use your color sparingly. So only use it when you really need to, and then when you do use it, people will take notice of it. So this is another one, alignment. Alignment is very important. The thing about it is you don't notice it unless it's bad. So if it's clean and you've got good alignment, it's not distracting. So again, you're able to focus on what the actual report is telling you rather than looking at why it's misaligned. So if I look at this, if you set this up where you've got alignment where, you know, on the left-hand side, you've got your space between your title and your text is the same, you know, anything in here where like all of these are kind of lined up in the same line or across the top, these visuals at the top are aligned. Things like this, they may not seem important, but to have them to make your report nice and clean and sort of almost like, whether it's symmetrical or it's got enough space and things like that, they just make your report look a lot more professional. They look like you've taken time to do something and considered something and designed it, rather than just like throwing stuff on a page. And if you didn't care about whether your reports are aligned or misaligned, maybe you didn't care about the analysis you were doing.
Yeah.
So they may get
It's a good
thoughts
take.
about, can I trust this person? They say they can't, it's like, if you go to eat at a restaurant and you see like a restaurant with a really, really messy kitchen,
Yeah.
like, is this a good place to, is this a good place to eat?
It's a minor thing, but it's actually affect how people judge you. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like judging the
As a-
book by cover, your appearance, same thing.
Yeah, as I say, you don't notice it unless it's bad. If it's good, you don't notice it. It's those things that you don't notice. Yeah.
That's true.
Like this, again, I just like try to mess this up a bit just to show what, like if I drew that alignment you see here, like if the text is on out here, in some places it's kind of misaligned, or if our visuals are, high here but low here and things like that, or, this is low here, but it's high up here and things like that. It just can start looking a bit messy. It's not very nice to see.
That's true.
And it can distract people. They're like, oh, why is this like out here? Is there a reason why this is? And then people lose focus. They don't know what they're supposed to be looking at, and they get distracted, and then they don't want to look at your report anymore. And then kind of similar, but I think we've talked about this before. It's called white space. And again, it doesn't need to be white. It just needs to be like space between your visuals and your groups. It's to allow your visuals to breathe, so that you focus on one. So if I want to look at these visuals on seating, I look at these, but there isn't like another visual sort of sitting on top of it or right next to it, sort of competing for my attention. I'm able to look at this, read this, look at the visual. I'm not being this donut chart's not sitting on top of it. So there's a bit of space between the visuals. So you have what's called white space. And the way to achieve, or a good way to achieve that, is to remove any clutter. So not anything that's not adding value to your report. I personally recommend to remove it. So you might have pictures or nice little icons or things like that in a sort of an infographic setting or an educational setting or something. It's fine. Like I do it myself. You see the Lego one, a little Lego character and stuff in it. But in a business setting, like the business owner doesn't want to see a picture of a pizza on his report. He sees pizza every day. Why does he want to see pizza on your report? So you don't need to show pictures of pizzas or too many icons or things like that, because they're probably not adding value. I can kind of look at this and say, I think everything on this report is providing some kind of value, so I don't need to remove it. So if you remove everything that's not adding value, then you're going to have a better report.
That's true. This is actually pretty clean. The why it is pretty clean is because it's not, mess up with infographic. Not mess up, but a lot of time we have an urge to put in some icon.
Yeah,
I imagine.
people learn new techniques about how to create. I can put a GIF on my report. So it's like a little animation of someone running across the screen and stuff. And you might think, yeah, it's pretty cool. It sounds like a good idea, etc. But most people, they'll probably get annoyed with it after about 5 seconds. They see it happening once and they go, oh, that's cute. And then the 10th time that they see it,
Then it's annoying.
So my recommendation is, it's okay for like experimenting with or like doing for like a fun project, but on a business report, it's gonna get old. People are gonna get tired of it quite quickly. So unless someone really, really, really wants it, I would advise against.
So you guys that are listening, if you have questions now or after, because in Thailand is a long weekend, you can just type and then maybe Sanjara could come in and see later. Or if you guys appreciate this session, please do comment for us. So we could arrange this again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm almost finished, second last slide. So again, just to touch on context. So I think you probably talked about this already. You don't always need to believe that the data speaks for itself. Some people say, oh, the data speaks for itself. Most of the time it doesn't. If you just put this chart, this visual up, and you say, there's your visual about seating, people will look at it and they'll go, I don't know what this means.
That's true.
If you provide the text beside it to reinforce the message and even the recommendation. So what we're saying here is use the text to reinforce the visual. So that people, what you're basically doing is people are reading to see, what am I going to see in this visual? It's summarized here. And then when I look at the visual, I see what was described. So it's kind of like a reinforcement. You read what you're going to see, you see it, and you understand it. So you've been given the information 2 times, one time through text and one time through the visual. And if you're told something 2 times, you're more likely to remember it than being told once.
Papa said, hope to see you in-person event.
Yeah, maybe
Papa,
I'll get back to you.
Where did you come from? I can't remember.
I think Papa is from Myanmar, but I think she's based in Thailand.
Oh, really? Then
Yeah.
you should invite Gerard to Thailand next time that he's in. We definitely should meet up.
Yeah, I'll do a Thai session, no problem.
Yes. All inside. So double difficult for our teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess in summary, like overall looking at this, in what I've done in terms of the analytics, we have a complex backend in terms of the calculations and the model and the structure and everything that was done in the backend. End user doesn't see that. We have a simple front end in terms of our visuals. We keep it simple, easy to follow. It needs to answer specific questions, provide actions for the end user, and be targeted in terms of what they need for the business to improve their efficiency and their profits. And in terms of the visuals, in order to do that, we need to have a report or visual with good structure, so it's separated, with flow going through the report as well. Use the simple visuals. Again, be focused with your use of color and minimize your use of color only when you really need it to highlight a point or focus something. Use context to provide information for the visuals you're showing. And then using these other pre-attentive attributes like grouping, using enclosure, using good alignment. If you follow these types of steps or process in developing your reports, I think you start to produce reports and dashboards that end users will be more likely to use and will probably come back to you for repeat work or repeat information. So that's.
Let's give it a hand, everyone.
Sorry, that was probably a bit longer than we were thinking.
We are fine. It's a พี่ไก่บอกตอนนี้เหมือนภาพมันซ้อนภาพปะ Yes, it was fun and informative. Naresh say yes, because normally I think we have like video, but anyway, so for me it's very informative, and thank you very much for this session. And
No problem.
I think when you walk us through that, we can understand now everything start from basic insights, like what is performance, how to group customer, how you choose less than 2 pizza, more than 2 pizza, and then after that is graph. It's not, because normally what I saw on trend this day is how you use tools, which is great, but it's not all of a concern that actually people don't understand you, not because you are not using tools right. It's if you can use bar chart, from what I saw Dr. Gerard did, is actually only bar chart is fine. Actually, we have some scatter plot, but bar chart and variance chart is enough, and then a normal color, not too much red, is okay.
Yeah, I think you can tell very, very good stories just with bar charts and line charts.
She will say thank you so much. for Dr. Gerard for arranging this as well. Thank you. Okay. Do you have any plan? What time is it there?
It's 4 o'clock, so it's only 1 hour ahead of Thailand, Perth.
Okay. Okay. I understand now why we have this. Okay. So again, thank you so much. Naresh, say when you walk us through, I came to know that analysis is not about dumping visuals. I like that word, Naresh, but it's about placing everything carefully to focus attention. That's a very good take.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much. And thank you our team as well for staying with us. And thank you people from Thailand and hope you have a great day. And especially thank you, Ajahn Gerald, again. We are hoping to learn from you again. And I think you have YouTube channel. Do you want to share so people could go to your YouTube and watch you go through analysis? I think you shared it before, but you could share it one more time.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat.
But if you, for Thai people, if you like to learn from Gerard, just comment and then I'll encourage him to come online next time. Naresh says, "Can I ask the questions?" Go on.
Hi, Gerard. Naresh here. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for organizing this session, and it was really useful for me. And as a beginner in analytics, I think what you have walked me through, it was really helpful, and I think I have to learn a lot from all these things. So it's a lot to consume right now for me. I'm trying to organize it in a way so that I can refer to it later and create my design. So my question is like, so do you actually do we need to have a definite framework for our analytics approach, like apart from the visualization? So do we need a definitive or a confined framework to approach our analysis? So, for example, let's say you just only need these 5 questions to ask the stakeholder what he needs, and you just need these 5 questions to ask yourself how to approach the data. So, do you have?
Yeah, there's not. I guess there's not a small set of defined questions that you can use in every instance. I guess each situation is different, and that's part of the. It's a skill that I guess a lot of data analysts maybe struggle with. It's how to gather the requirements for like an analysis project, how to talk to stakeholders and get the information that they want and need to be shown. A lot of the time we're given data and they say, I'm not sure what I want to see, do an analysis for me and give me a report. And that's not very helpful from a stakeholder point of view in terms of just giving people data and telling them to go away and do an analysis. I think you need to always go back to whoever is going to use or consume the report. And even if it's just a chat to get more information about what's important to their business, what's important to how they work, what are the issues affecting their productivity or how they make money, or what's taking up most of their time in their business for the people who work for them. So if we are asking these types of questions, you soon get answers about what are the main issues that they want to analyze or focus on. And once you get that kind of understanding, you can then develop the questions that need to be answered in the analysis that you're doing.
Okay, yeah, I think I got the answer. Okay.
Thank you so much, Naresh.
Yeah, okay. And just one more thing to add. It's not a question. It's just a point that I took. So all these visualizations, you don't have to dump all the complex visualizations to make the user understand your analytics. So I mean, you don't have to make your dashboards or reports stunning by just adding colors and all those complex visualizations. You can use simple things. So that's what this is the main thing that I took from this session, because I always thought that, okay, you have to use some complex visualizations, complex techniques, complex programming languages to achieve those visualizations. But I think what you what you walked through us, I understood that, okay, the main thing is the analysis and what we are trying to solve. So yeah, thank you, Gerard, for that.
Yeah, thank you. I think if you look at if you follow things like Maven and the challenges, you'll see lots of people submitting reports, and there'll be these large complex reports that are probably like they're take up your full screen. You have to scroll way down to go through them. And they may get some people may like them because they look nice, on the surface or whatever. But once you dive into them, it's like, this is too much information.
Yes.
And you'll see that the finalists are never those types of reports.
That's true.
Most of the finalists that you see will be very small, or sorry, will be more condensed type of reports with simpler visuals that are easy to understand, and that's because they're chosen by sort of experts in the industry and in the field, and that's what they're looking for in terms of their experience and what people want to see in their business.
Yeah, that's what I understood the hard way. And yeah.
Oh, hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Swadika. Oh, she can speak Thai as well.
Yeah, she's looking.
Oh, Swadika.
Can I have snack?
Okay.
Yes.
So Alexei.
We take too much of your time. Yeah. Please say hi to what is her name? Sorry.
Alexei.
Please say hi to Alexei. Thank you for letting us bore you for a bit this Saturday.
No problem.
Okay. So guys, thank you so much. And you guys, if you have any comments later, please let us know. And I'll tell Gerard that you guys say hi. So again, Gerard, thank you so much for this excellent lesson.
Thank you.
Hopefully you see you again. ขอบคุณค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ